So the first guest this afternoon, I was talking, it's funny how this whole conference is threaded together with such effortless elegance. Yes, marvellously organised. We put our hands together for Joe and Rob. And the team, Don't forget the team. So it's interesting because I know they've put a lot of care and a lot of effort and love into this conference. But it's interesting, this morning I talked about meditation and what my view of it was and what I thought you could do in the short term. And our next guest spent 6 months meditating. 6 months. Well, most of us probably couldn't do 6 minutes. And I certainly couldn't stand on one leg and get up at 4 o'clock and look at a mountain, as I said this morning. So he spent 6 months, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to mind calming. And his book here, is the most popularly read book on meditation in the UK at the moment. He's written lots of other books as well. It's called Mind Calm, which you'll be able to buy, I think, after he's finished talking. He's top 10. No, I've just promoted you, don't I? I have a vision for you to be the first. That doesn't matter. You're number 1 in my book. It's okay. So please welcome on the stage Sandy Newbigging.
Very mellow. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having me, Robert, Joe, and it's a real privilege to be here. I was listening in on Robert's workshop earlier, and it kind of just blows my mind what that guy knows. And I'm sitting there going, right, because my talk's a bit more simple than that. But in a way, it kind of has to be because it's about meditation. And ultimately, meditation is about being yourself. So the less we have to do in order to be, the better. So in the next hour, I'm going to share with you, hour and a half, I'm going to share with you the background to mind calm meditation. And I'm also going to have us all meditate together using that method. Does that sound fun? So we're going to have a collective 100-odd people meditating at the same time on things like oneness with our attention at the far sides of the universe. Sounds kind of interesting, don't you think? So I want to have it's a bit of an experiment, so let's have a play with that. Now, a few years ago, I had one of the best and worst days of my life because I woke up a couple of years after setting some pretty big goals. You know, a couple of years prior to that, I sat down at New Year with my friend, and we thought we'd set some lifetime goals. So I thought I'd set some goals like, let's write a book that's published by a mainstream publisher. Let's have fully booked retreats, fully booked clinics, appear in magazines. Why not just be on the TV as well? You know, they were lifetime goals. I wanted to be with the girl of my dreams, in the house of my dreams, driving the car of my dreams. You know, with more money than I thought I could ever need. And that was quite a big, scary thought, considering when I was writing that goal, I was in debt at the time. Now, 2 years later, I woke up and had one of the best and worst days of my life because I realized I'd actually accidentally got all my goals. My lifetime goals I'd actually accomplished accidentally in a couple of years. I was on the television in 30 countries around the world doing my work as a mind detox practitioner. I had a best-selling book out by a mainstream publisher in my mid-20s. And I basically had fully booked retreats, courses, clinics, and I had obviously got out of debt by that point. I was with the girl of my dreams in the house of my dreams, driving the car of my dreams. You get the idea. And you might go, whoopie-doo for you, but the reality was, it was the worst and best day of my life. Because I realized, sitting on the side of my bed that day, that I wasn't happy yet. Now that was really scary, because I thought these goals were going to make me happy. I really genuinely believed if I was on, telly, if I had best-selling book out, if I was running fully booked retreats and clinics and all that sort of stuff, I'd be happy. But I was more stressed and experiencing more loneliness and separation than 2 years prior, when I first set the goals. And so, you know when they say the student's ready, the teacher appears? You come across that phrase? Yeah? Well, the teacher in that case was my best friend, who came along a couple of days later after that scary moment and said, have you tried meditation? I mean, oh, meditation? No, I can't meditate, was my first answer. I can't meditate. And they asked me a really cool question. They said, how do you know? How do you know you can't meditate? I thought about it for a little bit. And, okay. I can't stop my mind, was my response. I can't stop my mind. I close my eyes to meditate, and it's just like a million thoughts fire off all at the same time. At which point they laughed at me and said, well, you don't actually have to stop your mind in order to experience peace by meditating. I was like, what do you mean you don't have to stop your mind in order to experience peace by meditating? That makes no sense whatsoever, because every single book I'd read on peace, every single guru I'd watched on YouTube or whatever, every retreat I'd attended and course and specialists in meditation, they kept talking about stillness, talking about silence, talking about the present moment. So how did that, I didn't understand how I could have thoughts and experience peace simultaneously. It made no sense whatsoever. So confused yet curious, I went along to learn to meditate. Now, it was a couple-day weekend. I was really inspired by the person in the front of the room, and what they said was absolutely mind-blowing and really lit me up. Up until that point, I've been doing a lot of work in therapy and things like that, and so I was pretty full of my concepts and ideas about self-help, how to personally develop, and that sort of thing. And at the end of that course, I was so blown away by having such a shift in my own consciousness, a shift in the parameters of what I thought about life in general, that I'd forgotten to pay at the beginning, so I wrote a check for twice the amount. Now, that's quite a big thing coming from a Scotsman, I tell you. So I wrote a check for twice the amount because this was the meditation for me. I was going to do this every day for the rest of my life. That was my, double the amount on the check. There, that's it. So I go home for my first solo meditation, and I get out my meditation cushion, and I light my meditation candle, and I get my incense on, and I sit, and I dim the lights, and I get everything perfect for my first solo meditation. I sit down on my cushion. I kid you not, I was living in a really nice, quiet part of Edinburgh, but then about a minute after I sat down to meditate, someone started thumping away at the road with one of these road drills outside my door. So I'm sat there, getting really peeved, annoyed. I'm sitting there thinking, this is just bloody typical, I'm trying to do a good thing here. I'm trying to meditate, and then this thing happens. And so I think to myself, well, I'll just get up and I'll try again later. And I didn't realize at that moment when I was getting up to do it later, I was actually quitting. I hadn't realized. I didn't mean to quit, I just never quite got around to sitting down. After making this lifetime commitment to meditation, I never actually got down to sitting down. And for me, the days and the weeks passed by, but the inner frustration, this inner itch that setting more goals wasn't going to relieve the internal itch that there must be more to life than this, kept building, building, building. That frustration ended up overflowing into my relationship at the time, and the relationship of my dreams left. Taking with her the child I'd been raising, because the biological dad had disappeared, so I had been raising this little girl from a baby as my own, and so when that woman left, the child left too. Then the house and the £75,000 book deal we just signed, and the fancy car and all that sort of stuff. And then I found myself in a 2-bedroom flat, kind of wondering how I'm going to pay the rent a couple of weeks later. Having about 5 seconds of peace every single day. Do you know what that 5 seconds of peace was? It was the bit of just where you, after you wake up in the morning before you remember all your problems. You know that bit? You kind of wake up and go, oh shit, but you have this like 5 seconds of bliss until you remember your story, remember all your problems, right? Now, what happened for me was, though, that I got to see something quite spectacular that I feel very privileged to have seen. I got to have all that I thought I wanted, and I also got to lose it all too. And I noticed something really kind of crucial in the middle of that I honestly wasn't that happy either way. I honestly wasn't experiencing much peace either way. When I had loads of money, I was working on loads of stuff. I was kind of moving between a state of frustration because I wasn't quite there yet. I hadn't quite got the thing that I was currently working to get. And then once I got it, I swung like on this pendulum over to fear for losing what I'd worked so hard to get. So I was just going between fear or frustration over here. And then when I actually didn't have what I wanted, I realized, you know what? I'm the common denominator. There's something I have to do to improve things. Now, sometimes the thing we have to do is the thing we've already learnt, but we're just not doing. Have you noticed that? So for me, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to that meditation group. And I went along, and that time, it was like I was hearing with new ears. I was more raw, I was more open. My heart was just yanked open, and I was able to hear that they were saying that peace was possible. Genuine calm was possible. And they were a different set of teachers, but they had the same lovely look in their eye of stillness, and I wanted some of it. And I went and repeated again, because you could repeat that course for free, and like I said, I like to get value for money, so I went and kept repeating. And every time I went along, the teachers just had this nice, peaceful, calm look in their eye, and I wanted it. So I went off and meditated, like was introduced, for 6 months. I was meditating for 18 hours a day, and I really got to dive in and explore meditation. And what I've discovered is that you can actually experience the benefits of meditation in a relatively short period of time. And we're actually going to all touch calm today if you're able to follow instructions. Is that okay? Fast forward a few years, I became really passionate about wanting to have a modern day meditation technique that anybody could use, irrespective of their background, their belief system, or their religious practice or whatever, or whether they were interested in that kind of thing for meditation or not. So I wanted to have a meditation that kind of does what it says on the tin, and that's what Mind Calm does. However, Mind Calm does not stop at stilling your mind. That's just a part of Mind Calm, because I want you to be able to use your mind as the amazing tool that it is. Just kind of trying to shut the mind up, trying to get rid of it so that you can enjoy some peace, is kind of missing the point when it comes to spiritual awakening and experiencing true freedom in life. Mind Calm is not just about getting peace of mind, but it's also about experiencing peace with mind. Peace with your mind. And that's really what I want to talk to you first of all today, because I believe that peace of mind is one of the most confusing terms in popular spirituality and mainstream media today. Peace of mind. Because for me, when I think of peace of mind, it conjures up images in my mind of being, like robe-clad monks, sitting in full lotus position with their heads shaved, with a serene look on their face, because they've got peace of mind, you see. But the thing is, that imagery, that idea of peace of mind, it suggests that I have to get rid of my thoughts in order to experience peace. But I don't know, let me do a quick straw poll, and you're not feeling as a human being if you put your hands up. Who here has had, I don't know, at least 10 thoughts today? Anyone? Cool. Keep your hands up if you had about that many pretty much every day up and as far as you can remember. Yeah, you're human. You're not doing being a human being wrongly. And there's something about getting rid of all your thoughts and just shutting the mind away seems to be like a bit missing the point. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we're meant to do that. I think what we're meant to do is we're meant to befriend the mind, be able to use the mind as the amazing tool that it is. We may be able to pick it up, but then put it back down when we're done. Now that to me is more what I'd like to call mind mastery. Mind mastery in my terms is not mind manipulation. But mind manipulation and mind mastery get confused sometimes. Changing, fixing, improving the mind, in other words, manipulating it so it's how you believe it needs to be so you can be experiencing some peace, happiness, and love in this lifetime, is a bit like playing to the ego in a way, and playing to the control again, because we're still in that fix, change, and improve loop. But what if we can learn how to be at peace with the mind we've got? What if we can learn how to pick the mind up when we want to use it, but then put it back down? And that's what I'd really like to pass on today, because up until I learned how to do that, I was basically being thumped. I couldn't put my mind down. I picked it up in my, age 9 or 10, and it was kind of stuck to me ever since. And I didn't know how to shut it up when I wanted to. Now what's really useful with Mind Calm is you can quieten it if you want, but also you can cultivate a healthier relationship with your mind so that you can experience peace irrespective of what it's saying. Does that sound like quite an exciting proposition? No? Yes? So when I was coming to write Mind Calm, I wanted to have like a bit of a hook question at the beginning. Something that would draw the reader in. And so this kind of came out my fingers when I was sitting writing the book. Mind Calm starts with a very simple question. How do you know you have a mind? How do you know you have a mind? Now, I know it's maybe a bit deep for 3:10 on a Sunday afternoon, but how do you know you have a mind? Well, the simple answer to that simple question is we know we have a mind because we are aware of it. If we get really simple right now, because I am kind of a bit simple. if we get really simple, we know we have a mind because we are aware of it. Can we agree on that much? You know you have a mind because you are aware of the voice in your head right now. You know you have a mind because you're aware of the thoughts. You know you have a mind because you're aware of the visual images, the memories, the projections, the ideas, the imagination. We know we have a mind because we are aware of it. Does that make sense? So what that means is right here, right now, within all of us, we all have a mind, and we have something that's aware of the mind. We have a mind, thoughts and emotions and things, and we have something that's aware of the mind. Now, I know that I don't mean to be too simplistic, but we're starting at the beginning so that I can take you somewhere really pretty special, hopefully. What that means is that although we have a mind, we are not our minds. Although you have a mind, you are not your mind. It's quite a big thing, really, when you get to really explore that.